The marketplace was alive with noise. Traders shouted prices, machines beeped, and strange smells filled the dusty air. Bright colors from alien fruits, glowing fabrics, and shiny metals pulled in every shopper. It was a place where life never stopped, where every corner was crowded, and every coin was counted. But in the middle of all that life stood someone who was close to losing hers. She was a thin alien mother, her clothes old and torn. She kept her head low, trying to look invisible. In her arms, wrapped in a piece of cloth, lay her baby. The child's eyes were half closed, his tiny chest rising and falling with weak breaths. The mother whispered to him softly, "Hold on, my child. Just a little longer." Her hands shook as she opened her pouch. Inside were a few small coins, the last ones she owned. She poured them into her palm and counted once. She counted again, and again. Each time the number remained the same, too little. Not enough for baby formula. Her heart sank. She had walked miles searching for someone who might sell it cheaper. But everywhere the answer was the same. The price had risen. Inflation, the traders said. Scarcity, they said. Laws, they said. For her, it simply meant death waiting at her doorstep. The baby let out a weak cough, and the mother quickly covered his mouth. She looked around in fear. Other shoppers gave her sharp glances. Some whispered. To them, she was just another poor alien, one of many in this colony. Someone who could not pay, someone who did not belong. She turned away, ashamed. She thought of leaving, but her child whimpered, reminding her why she had come. She stepped to another stall, her voice trembling as she asked the price. The alien shopkeeper looked down at her, eyes cold, and named a number higher than her coins. "Please," she begged, showing her handful of money. "This is all I have, my baby. He needs food." The shopkeeper shook his head. "Rules are rules. No coin, no formula." His voice was sharp without mercy. Her shoulders sank. She wanted to scream, but her throat felt dry. She wanted to fight, but her legs felt weak. The baby whimpered again, and she hugged him close, tears burning her eyes. She looked at her coins one more time. Maybe if she bought less food for herself, maybe she could save him for one more day. But she knew the truth. The baby needed formula. Without it, his small body would not last. The crowd moved past her, fast and uncaring. She stood still, a mother fading into the background, invisible in her pain. And then, from across the market, someone noticed her. It was not another alien. It was not one of her own people. It was a human. The man was tall, his skin pale compared to the darker shades around him. He wore simple clothes, the kind travelers wore when passing through colonies. His eyes scanned the stalls, but then they rested on her. He saw the way she held her child. He saw the way her hands trembled as she held her last coins. At first, he said nothing. He just watched. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most aliens distrusted them, some even hated them. It was safer not to interfere. But something in his chest tightened as he saw the baby's weak cough. The mother felt his gaze. She lifted her head for just a moment, and their eyes met. Hers were filled with fear and shame. His were heavy with thought. For a moment, time slowed. The marketplace noise seemed far away. It was only the mother, the child, and the stranger's eyes. The mother quickly turned away, clutching her baby closer. She whispered again, but this time her voice cracked. "I will find a way, my child. I promise." The human stood still, debating. He remembered something deep from his past, something painful. Days when he too had known hunger. He remembered a time when he had nothing, when even one kind hand could have saved him from despair. The memory stabbed him like a knife. He looked at the mother again. She was already walking away, her small figure swallowed by the crowd, but he could not forget the baby's weak cough. The human's hands curled into fists. He knew the risks. He knew the law. Helping an alien like her could bring punishment. But his feet started moving on their own. Step by step, he followed her. The mother felt a presence behind her and froze. Fear rushed into her chest. Slowly, she turned her head. The human was standing there, close, but not too close. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "Your child," he said softly. "He is hungry, isn't he?" The mother's eyes widened. She pulled her baby closer and shook her head quickly. No, please, go away." Her voice was sharp, almost panicked, but the human did not step back. He only looked at the baby, whose small chest rose with weak breaths. The mother's heart pounded. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. The coins in her hand rattled, the sound sharp in the air, and at that moment she realized her silent struggle was no longer silent. Someone had seen. Someone had noticed. And the story was only beginning. The marketplace still roared with sound, but inside the human's mind there was silence. His eyes stayed on the alien mother, who stood trembling, clutching her baby like a fragile piece of glass. He had asked a simple question, yet her response was not what he expected. She had begged him to go away. Most would have listened. Most would have walked on, leaving her to her fate. But he did not move. His name was Daniel, a wanderer from Earth. He had traveled across colonies and stations, taking small jobs to survive. Everywhere he went, he saw one truth. Humans were not welcome. They were blamed for wars, for greed, for mistakes of the past. They were seen as dangerous, selfish, unable to live by the rules of the galaxy. And now, he stood in the middle of that truth, facing a mother who feared even the kindness of his voice. Daniel's chest tightened. He remembered another place, another time. His memory dragged him back to Earth, to when he was a boy. He could still see it. The narrow streets, the empty cupboards, the sound of his stomach crying louder than his voice. His mother had tried to hide her own hunger, pretending she was full so he could eat the little bread they had. But he had seen through her lies. He had seen the same desperate eyes this alien mother now carried. That memory made his jaw clench. He had once been the hungry child. Now he was the man watching a child starve. But this was not Earth. Things were different here. Daniel glanced around. Already a few shoppers had noticed him speaking to the alien mother. Their eyes narrowed, whispers spread like smoke. Humans were not supposed to interfere. The Galactic law was clear. No human hand should touch alien survival. It was called the law of distance. It was meant to keep peace, but in truth it only built walls. If he helped, he could be punished. If he even offered, it could be seen as a crime. Daniel's heart pounded as he stood in the middle of that choice. He looked at the mother's trembling hands, her coins shining weakly in the sunlight. He looked at the baby, coughing again, each sound weaker than the last. He thought, if I walk away now, maybe she finds help tomorrow. Maybe someone kinder steps in, or maybe tomorrow never comes. The thought froze him. He could not leave, but what could he do? He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. I don't want to harm you, he said gently. I only want to help. Your baby, he needs food. Let me do something. The mother's eyes filled with panic. She shook her head hard, whispering back, no. You don't understand. If they see, if anyone sees, they will take him from me, and you, they will take you too. Her words cut sharp, filled with fear. She tried to step back, but Daniel's voice caught her again. Do you want him to die? His words were not cruel, they were desperate. The mother froze, her breath shaky. She looked down at her baby, then back at him. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She wanted to scream yes, she needed help, but her mouth would not form the words. Fear chained her voice. Daniel saw it, the war inside her. He knew that war. He had lived it, his fists clenched. He could feel the stares around him growing sharper, colder. A merchant 2 stalls away was already whispering to a guard. Time was running out. Daniel thought fast. If he simply gave her money, it would be seen. If he handed her food, it would be caught. But maybe if he acted fast enough before the law enforcers arrived. He looked at the shop selling formula. A small stall, run by a greedy merchant who had already refused her. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Without a word, he walked toward it. The mother gasped. No, stop, she whispered sharply. Don't do this. But Daniel did not listen. His steps were firm, steady, carrying the weight of his decision. The merchant sneered as he approached. Another beggar? The alien asked. Daniel dropped a pile of credits on the counter, far more than the price of one can. The merchant's sneer turned into greed as he quickly snatched them up. I'll take the formula, Daniel said coldly. The merchant handed it over, not caring about who it was for, only the shine of coins in his hands. Daniel turned, holding the small container. The crowd had grown quieter. They knew what he had done. They knew the law he had just broken. He walked back to the mother and placed the formula at her feet. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with fire. Feed him now. The mother stared at it, her lips trembling. She wanted to scream, to push it away, to tell him this would bring death to them both. But then, her baby coughed again. Her shaking hands reached out. She touched the formula. She held it close. And in that moment, her tears changed. Not only fear, but a spark of hope. But around them, the whispers grew louder. The guards were coming, and Daniel knew the true price of his decision was about to be revealed. The crowd parted as the guards marched forward, their black armor shining under the colony's weak suns. Their boots struck the dusty ground with heavy thuds, each step echoing like a warning. The alien mother froze, clutching the formula close to her chest. Her baby stirred in the cloth, too weak to cry but still alive. Hope had touched her hands, but fear now gripped her heart even tighter. Daniel stood still. He knew what was coming. He had seen guards before, silent, cold, unforgiving. They followed the law of distance without question. No human was allowed to interfere with alien survival, not even with a kind act. To the law, compassion was crime. The first guard pointed at him with a long steel baton. His voice was sharp and mechanical. "Human," he said. "Step away." The crowd gathered quickly, forming a ring around them. Some aliens whispered eagerly, waiting for punishment. Others stayed silent, uncomfortable but unwilling to speak. None dared to step in. The mother's hands trembled as she tried to hide the formula under her cloth. She looked at Daniel with wide, pleading eyes. "Don't fight. Don't make this worse." Her lips trembled, but she could not find her voice. Daniel raised his hand slowly. His voice was calm but steady. She needed help. The baby was starving. The guard's cold eyes glowed under the helmet. "Your kindness is a violation. You are guilty of interference." Daniel clenched his fists, but he held back his anger. He had expected this. Still, hearing it said aloud made his blood boil. The mother finally found her voice. "Please," she cried out. "He only gave food. He saved my child." But the crowd hissed at her words. An older alien shouted from the back, "The law is the law. Humans bring danger wherever they go." Another joined. "If one human breaks it, others will follow. They must be punished." The mother shrank back, tears streaking her face. She wanted to fight, but she was only one voice against many. The guard stepped closer, surrounding Daniel. He did not move, but his eyes burned with defiance. He remembered Earth again, remembered nights when nobody helped, when laws and rules had kept him starving in the shadows. He remembered the cold looks of people who pretended not to see. And he remembered how it felt to be abandoned. Now he saw that same abandonment in the mother's eyes. He could not let it happen again. "I will not walk away," Daniel said firmly. His voice was low but strong enough to silence some whispers. "You may call it crime. I call it life. If a child dies in front of me and I do nothing, then I am worse than your law." The guard lifted his baton. "Enough," the mother gasped, clutching her child tighter. She wanted to scream for him to stop, to beg him to surrender. She feared for him as much as for her child. But Daniel did not flinch. Then something unexpected happened. The baby coughed again, louder this time, his chest shaking with the effort. The sound cut through the noise like a knife. Every eye turned to the child. His small, fragile breath became the center of all attention. The mother quickly opened the container and poured the formula into a tiny feeding bottle. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it, but Daniel steadied her for just a moment. Their eyes met, two strangers from two worlds united by one fragile life. The baby drank, weak at first, then faster, his lips finally moving with hunger. The color returned to his skin, faint but real. The marketplace went silent. They were watching something rare, life returning. The guard hesitated. His baton lowered slightly. He was not programmed to feel, but even he could not deny what his eyes saw. A life saved, but the law was still the law. "Human," the guard repeated, though his voice was slower now. "You are guilty. You will come with us." Daniel knew resistance would mean death, yet inside him fire burned. He had done what he came to do, the baby lived. But now the price would come. The mother's heart raced. She wanted to shout, to throw herself between Daniel and the guards, but fear held her still. She had seen what the enforcers did to lawbreakers. To speak for him was to invite doom. The crowd grew restless. Some aliens looked away, ashamed. Others whispered that maybe, just maybe, the law was too cruel. But no one stepped forward. Daniel looked at the mother one last time. His expression was not of regret. It was of peace. He had saved one life, that was enough. The guards grabbed his arms, twisting them behind his back. Cold metal cuffs locked around his wrists. The mother cried out softly, but her voice was lost in the crowd. As Daniel was dragged away, the baby made a small sound, not a cough, but a tiny cry. It was weak but alive. The mother held him close, her tears falling onto his fragile face. Her heart ached. The human had given her child life, but now he would lose his own. The marketplace swallowed them all again, noise returning. But the mother knew something had changed. Two worlds had collided, and neither would ever be the same. Daniel's wrists were bound in heavy cuffs as the guards pulled him through the crowded market. Their grip was iron, their movements cold and sharp. Around them the crowd followed like a river, whispers rushing louder than the steps of armored boots. The alien mother trailed behind, clutching her baby tight, the formula container still pressed to her chest. She wanted to disappear into the ground to hide her child from the eyes of the enforcers, but she could not. Her eyes stayed fixed on Daniel, the human who had just risked everything for her. The baby was alive. For the first time in days, he drank with hunger. Each swallow was a small victory, but that life came with a heavy price. Daniel did not resist. His steps were steady, even as chains dragged across the stone ground. His mind was calm, though his heart burned. He had chosen this path the moment he stepped forward. Still, he knew what was waiting. The law of distance was not kind. The guards dragged him to the center of the marketplace where a raised platform stood. It was used for announcements, punishments, and warnings to the people. Today, Daniel would be the warning. The crowd pressed in closer. Children were lifted onto shoulders to see. Traders leaned against their stalls, smirking. Some shook their heads. A few remained silent, guilt heavy in their eyes. One guard raised his voice, the sound amplified through a speaker in his armor. This human is guilty of interference. He gave aid where the law forbids. His actions break the sacred code that keeps peace between species. The words rolled across the crowd, filling the air with judgment. The mother trembled. She wanted to scream that it was not a crime to save a child, but fear chained her tongue. If she spoke, she would be punished too. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Peace?" he said, his voice strong even with chains cutting into his skin. "You call this peace? Letting children starve while food sits on shelves?" Gasps spread through the crowd. No one had dared to speak against the law so openly. The guard struck him across the face with the baton, and Daniel fell to one knee. Blood touched his lip, but he did not stay down. He rose again, eyes burning like fire. "Mercy is not crime," he said. His voice shook, but not with fear, with conviction. "Compassion is not danger. It is what makes us alive." The marketplace fell silent. Even the merchants who had sneered now lowered their eyes. But the guards did not listen. They never listened. "By order of the Galactic law," the lead guard declared, "this human will face punishment at sundown." The words struck the mother like a blade. Punishment. Everyone knew what that meant. Death. Her knees weakened, but she clutched her baby tighter. He was alive now, thanks to Daniel, but how could she let him pay with his life? Her tears burned, but still her lips did not move. She wanted to cry out, but fear was stronger. Daniel glanced at her just for a moment. In that glance he spoke without words. "Do not blame yourself. I chose this." The guards dragged him from the platform and toward the holding cells beneath the market. The crowd began to scatter, their whispers trailing like smoke. Some were disgusted. Some were afraid. Some for the first time questioned the law. The mother stood frozen. She looked at her baby, whose tiny fingers curled around the fabric of her robe. Then she looked back at the path Daniel had been dragged down. Her heart screamed louder than her fear. "He saved my child, and now he will die for it." The thought tore her apart. She wanted to run, to follow, to demand they let him go, but her legs would not move. She was trapped between terror and gratitude, between survival and truth. Hours passed like slow drops of poison. The sun sank lower in the sky, painting the colony with fading light. The mother sat in the shadows of a crumbling wall, her baby asleep against her chest. But her mind was restless. She could not forget Daniel's words. Mercy is not crime. Compassion is what makes us alive. She whispered them under her breath again and again, as if the words themselves were a shield. Finally, the sound of a horn cut through the evening air. The punishment hour had arrived. The mother rose quickly, her heart racing. She moved toward the square where the crowd was gathering once more. At the center, Daniel stood with chains across his arms. His face was bruised, but his eyes were clear. He looked not at the guards, not at the crowd, but at the stars above. The guards raised their batons, ready to deliver the sentence. The mother's lips trembled. She could not stay silent any longer. Her baby stirred as if sensing her fear. Her voice rose, cracking, trembling, but breaking through the silence of the crowd. "Stop," she cried. Every head turned toward her. The guards paused. Daniel's eyes widened slightly, but he did not move. The mother stepped forward, holding her baby high. Her tears shone in the fading light. "This man saved my child," she shouted, her voice shaking but fierce. "You call it crime. I call it life. If he dies today, it is not justice, it is murder." The crowd gasped. Whispers spread like fire. For the first time, someone had spoken against the law in the open, and the guards realized the risk was no longer just Daniel's. It was hers too. The square fell into silence after the mother's cry. Every head turned toward her, eyes wide in shock. She stood trembling, but her voice had carried like thunder. Her baby shifted in her arms, alive, fed, breathing because of the man the guards wanted to kill. The lead guard's helmet glowed with sharp red lines as he turned toward her. "You speak against the law?" His voice was heavy, almost mechanical. The mother's knees shook, but she held her baby higher. "I speak for life. He saved my child. If that is crime, then what is your law worth?" A ripple went through the crowd. Some aliens nodded quietly, their faces tight with hidden agreement. Others hissed and muttered. "She is a fool," someone whispered. "She risks us all." Daniel's chains clinked as he lifted his head. His eyes found the mother's, and for the first time since his arrest, a small, tired smile touched his lips, but the guards did not smile. "The Galactic law will not forgive," the leader said coldly. "It does not bend for your child or for your cries. The human interfered, and the punishment is death. If you defend him, you too risk judgment." The words struck like blades. The mother's arms tightened around her baby. She could feel her own fear rising like fire in her chest. But when she looked down at the tiny face pressed against her, strength rose in her heart. "No," she whispered, then louder. "No. If he dies, my child dies too. Because my child would have been gone without him." His hands gave life. Gasps burst through the crowd. No one dared to speak to the enforcers this way. The guard raised his baton, but another guard stepped forward, hesitating. "Commander," he said in a low voice, "the crowd is unsettled. If we kill him now, it could turn." The commander's head snapped toward him. "The law is not a choice. The law is order. Mercy is chaos, and chaos burns." He turned back to the crowd. "This human will be executed now. Let all see what happens when law is broken." Daniel's breath slowed. He had expected this. But when he saw the mother shaking, fighting to stand against fear, he felt a fire burn in his chest. He could not let her carry his burden. "Stop," he said, his voice carrying strong over the crowd. "She has nothing to do with this. Leave her. Punish me, not her." The commander tilted his head. "You think you can choose? You are nothing but a criminal." Daniel's voice hardened. "I am a human, and humans do not watch children die." The crowd shivered at his words. Some looked away, afraid. But others stood taller. Something was stirring like a spark catching dry wood. The mother stepped forward again, though her legs trembled. "He is no criminal. He is braver than all of you." Her voice cracked, but it cut through the air. "If this is your law, then your law has no heart." The crowd erupted in whispers, louder now. No longer just hidden fear. A young alien shouted, "She is right." Another added, "The law is cruel." The guards raised their batons, ready to silence the crowd. But the people did not move back. Daniel's heart pounded. He had not expected this. He thought he would die alone. But now voices rose around him, voices that had been silent for years. The commander's voice boomed. "Silence. The law does not forgive. It does not care for your feelings. It is older than all of you. It keeps peace. Without it, there is only war." But even as he spoke, doubt cracked through the crowd. Some aliens lowered their heads in shame. Others clenched their fists. The mother looked at Daniel, her tears shining. "You gave my child life. I will not let them take yours without a fight." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her to stay silent, to protect her child, to survive. But before he could speak, the commander raised his baton high. "Enough. Prepare him." The guards forced Daniel to his knees. The square went quiet again. The baby in the mother's arms cried weakly, his tiny voice carrying across the silence. The sound pierced through Daniel's heart. He closed his eyes. At least he lives, he thought. That is enough. But then something unexpected happened. From the edge of the crowd, an old alien stepped forward. His back was bent, his robes tattered. His voice was rough but strong. I too was helped by a human once. He saved me when no one else would. If kindness is crime, then I too am guilty. The crowd gasped. Another alien raised her hand. A human shared food with me when I was starving. I never forgot. One by one, voices rose. Memories spilled out, stories of quiet kindness. The marketplace shook with truth. Humans had been feared, hated. But secretly, they had been saving lives all along. The commander's helmet glowed brighter, but even he could feel control slipping. This law, Daniel whispered, his voice broken but clear, is not peace. It is silence, and silence breaks when truth is spoken. The crowd roared louder now, their voices clashing with the guard's authority. The mother held her baby high. If he dies, we all lose what makes us alive. Mercy, compassion. That is the law we should follow. The guards raised their weapons. The crowd surged closer, and Daniel knew whatever happened next would change the colony forever. The square trembled with voices. For the first time, the crowd did not stay silent. Their whispers had grown into shouts, their hidden memories rising into the open. Stories of human kindness spilled across the air like sparks in a storm. But the guards tightened their circle, weapons raised. Their armor shone with cold light, their helmets glowing red. The commander lifted his baton high, his voice sharp and final. Enough. The law has spoken. The human dies tonight. The words struck the mother's heart like a knife. She clutched her baby tightly, pressing his small head against her chest. The child was alive, breathing, feeding, saved. All because of Daniel. Yet now she was forced to watch as the man who saved him was dragged toward death. Her breath shook. Fear and gratitude fought inside her like fire and water. She wanted to run, to hide her child, to disappear into the shadows. That was survival. That was what any mother would do. But then she heard Daniel's voice. "Stay silent," he whispered, his lips barely moving as the guards forced him down. "Protect your child. Do not risk him for me." Her chest tightened. Even in chains, even with death so close, he thought only of her. Only of her baby. Her mind screamed at her. He is right. Stay quiet, live, save your son. But her heart answered back. If I stay silent, then I teach my child that life is bought by cowardice. That survival is worth more than truth. She looked at her son's tiny face. His eyes were closed, his breath soft. He would grow one day. He would ask questions. He would want to know the truth. And what would she tell him? That she watched a man die for saving him? That she let law kill compassion? Her tears burned, falling hot against the baby's cheek. She knew then. Silence was no choice at all. Her legs trembled as she stepped forward. The crowd parted, eyes wide as the poor alien mother walked to the front, holding her child high. Her voice shook, but it carried across the square. If he dies, she said, then this law kills my child too. The crowd gasped. The commander turned, his helmet glowing with fury. Step back, woman. You risk judgment. Her arms tightened around her son, but her eyes did not drop. Judge me then. I will not let truth die with him. The crowd murmured louder, restless, torn between fear and courage. The guards shifted, uneasy. Daniel's eyes widened. He shook his head. Don't, he whispered. But she kept going. You call him criminal, she said, her voice breaking. But he is the reason my son breathes. He is no lawbreaker. He is a savior. The baby stirred, letting out a small cry. The sound pierced the air like a blade. Mothers in the crowd clutched their own children closer. Fathers looked at their sons and daughters with heavy eyes. The truth was too clear. Any of them could be next. The commander raised his baton again. The law does not forgive. If you defend him, you are guilty too. The mother's tears shone in the fading light, but her voice grew stronger. Then I am guilty. I will carry that guilt. But if you kill him, then you are guilty too. Not before law, but before life itself. The crowd erupted. Voices rose, some shouting in fear, others in support. The square shook with unrest. The guards tried to hold the line, but the wave of voices grew louder. Daniel's heart pounded. He had begged her to stay silent, but now, seeing her stand, seeing her risk everything, his eyes burned with something new. Hope. The commander's voice thundered again, but it no longer silenced the people. The law is eternal. It cannot bend for mercy. But the people no longer bowed their heads. They shouted back. The law is wrong. Compassion is not crime. He saved a child. For the first time, the guards hesitated. They had always ruled with silence, but now silence was gone. The mother raised her baby higher, her voice ringing above the chaos. I choose life. I choose mercy. If you kill him, you will have to kill me too. The square fell still. Her words hung in the air like fire, burning into every heart. Daniel's breath caught. He wanted to tell her to stop, to protect her child. But he also knew it was too late. She had made her choice. The crowd's whispers turned into roars. The guards gripped their weapons tighter. But their armor could not stop what was rising. And in that moment, Daniel realized, the choice of one mother could ignite an entire colony. The commander's baton shook in his hand. His helmet glowed bright red. His voice came out like thunder. Then so be it. If you stand with the human, you fall with him. The guards raised their weapons. The crowd screamed, and the mother held her child close, ready to face the storm. The square trembled under the weight of silence. The mother stood at the center, clutching her baby to her chest, her voice still echoing in the hearts of all who heard it. If you kill him, you will have to kill me too. The commander's baton glowed red as he raised it high. His words roared like thunder. Then so be it. The law will strike all who resist. The guards stepped forward, their weapons ready. The people shrank back, but the sound of murmurs rippled louder. Fear battled with courage in every heart. Daniel's breath caught in his chest. He wanted to shout, to beg her to stop. But the sight of her, fragile yet unbroken, a poor mother daring to stand against the law, held him silent. He had given her hope, and now she gave it back to him. Then something happened that no one expected. From the edge of the crowd, another voice rose. She is right, a young alien shouted. He stepped forward, trembling but firm. This human saved her child. I will not see him die, another voice followed. Humans helped me too. Years ago, one gave me food when no one else would. An older alien raised his cane. I owe my life to a human. If mercy is crime, then I am guilty as well. The crowd erupted. One by one, voices rose, breaking years of silence. What began as whispers grew into a storm. The square filled with cries. Compassion is not crime. The law is wrong. Life overrules. The guards stiffened, their circle breaking as the people pushed forward. The commander shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the roar. The mother lifted her child high. Look at him. Alive because of this man. Do you still call that crime? The baby gave a weak cry, his tiny voice piercing through the chaos. The crowd gasped. Life, fragile yet real, carried in that sound. Daniel felt his chains dig into his wrists, but his heart swelled. He had expected to die alone. Now he stood in the middle of something bigger, something no law could cage. The commander struck the ground with his baton. Silence. All of you. Do you dare defy the Galactic law? But the people did not stop. They surged forward, voices like fire. The guards raised their batons, but even they hesitated. They were trained to fight silence, not unity. The commander pointed at Daniel. Execute him. 2 guards moved to obey, but before they could strike, the crowd surged. Dozens of hands pulled Daniel back, breaking the circle. Chains rattled as strangers shielded him with their own bodies. The square erupted into chaos. Shouts, clashes, cries filled the air. The guards swung their batons, but the people pushed back, no longer afraid. For every strike, 10 more voices rose. In the middle of it, the mother clung to her baby, tears streaking her face. Fear gripped her, but hope burned brighter. She had chosen to stand, and now others stood with her. Daniel fought against his chains, struggling to move. A young alien cut through the bindings with a stolen blade. The chains fell. For the first time since his arrest, Daniel's arms were free. The commander saw it and roared in fury. He charged forward, baton glowing, aimed straight for Daniel. But Daniel did not step back. Instead, he stood tall, meeting the commander's strike with bare hands. He caught the baton, its heat burning his skin, but he held firm. His voice thundered over the chaos. Your law is not justice, it is fear. And today, fear ends. The crowd roared in answer. The commander struggled, but the strength of one man fueled by truth was stronger than the chains of law. Daniel ripped the baton free and hurled it aside. The guards faltered. The people pressed closer, united now. The commander looked around and saw it. The law no longer held them. Fear no longer ruled them. The guards retreated, pulling back into the shadows. The commander shouted promises of punishment, of return, but his words carried no weight. The people did not bow, and just like that, the square was free. Daniel stood in the center, bruised and bleeding, but alive. The mother stepped forward, her baby in her arms. Her eyes were wet with tears, but her voice was steady. "You gave him life," she whispered, "and today you gave us all courage." Daniel looked at the child, then at her. His voice was soft, tired, but filled with strength. "No, you gave them courage. You stood when no one else would." The baby reached out a tiny hand, brushing Daniel's finger, the smallest touch. But in that touch lived everything they had fought for. The crowd slowly dispersed, but whispers filled the colony that night. Whispers of a mother who stood against the law, of a human who chose mercy over silence, of a people who found their voice the guards would return. The law would not forget. The struggle was not over. But in the shadows, hope had been born, and hope is a seed that no law can crush.